and so he was dead. Dalinor's massive longsword, which had been left in place of a tombstone, fastened Beller to the spot even after his death. This was being lit by a faint light seeping out of a high skylight. Quiet footsteps rang out across the still cathedral. From the darkness behind a pillar, a woman slowly stepped forwards. Oh, hello there, Beatrice. It was Beatrice. Her eyes had no light in them, and looked the same way they had for so long at the Golden Land. Still muddied over with grey. Previously, she couldn't even drink black tea properly without assistance. But now, though it was slow, and though there was no life in her eyes, she was surprisingly walking. And with slow, deliberate steps, she reached Balor, who was still dead and pierced. And then, slowly, she touched him. She tugged on his sleeve. However, Balor showed no reaction. When she realized that it wasn't sleep, but death, the witch, with a forlorn gaze, drooped her head even lower. And then she quietly whispered, and Bato softly touched Balor. Then she pressed her forehead against Balor's chest. And there was no longer any heartbeat. It wasn't just because he had surrendered. It was because the witches had banished him from the game board. So now, Bella would never return. So now, the Golden Witch Beatrice had no more reason to exist.
ありがとう、嘘つき。さよなら。そして、ごめんね。
Then, the Golden Witch, her task completed, scattered as a spray of gold. In the Golden Land, the grey rain gently continued to fall. There was a faint aroma of good black tea. Beato stared blankly at the surface of tea. There was Virgilia, continuing her kneading. Along with me and Eleanor talking to each other. This is a flashback. A flashback to a memory of Balor's, which Delanor's sword must have given him as it pierced him. A flashback of that time Delanor had come to visit the tea party in the Golden Land. Yeah, no kidding. It surely feels like the conversation that we had before. Delanor. I thought she was ruthless killer though without a heart. But maybe she actually is pretty approachable. Though, of course, neither of us will show any mercy when fighting on a game board. For a while, we gazed at the rain-drenched rose garden as we quietly enjoyed our tea.
しかし、恐ろしいもんだな。お前の戦い方は。ノックス10回だったっけか？ミステリーのお約束ってやつだろ？
はい。我が父が考案した戒律です。
隠し扉は存在してはならない。ノックス第3条だっけか？だから探偵は隠し扉を探す必要さえないわけだ。なかなかな暴論だな。
Mercastel talked about this. She said that even searching for hidden doors was a waste of time because they are forbidden by Nox's third commandment. It makes me want to argue back and say it isn't so uncommon for a rich family's mansion to have a hidden door or two built into it. But apparently you can get away with that kind of rule in the mystery genre. As an aside, there exist many wonderful mysteries in which hidden doors appear, and where hidden doors are the theme. Though of course, this is limited to novels which have the premise that hidden doors exist. And without that premise, hidden doors mustn't exist. Without that premise, hidden doors mustn't exist. Okay, well, what does it mean for a novel to have hidden doors as a premise? So if that premise isn't there, there's no need to search for hidden doors. I think that's probably the essence of her ridiculous argument. I get the feeling that the detective trying to expose the truth and the illusion trying to mask it with fiction are getting blended together, leading to a bizarre form of argument similar to a devil's proof. Making a lock to the murder seem to be accomplished by a witch with magic. That's fantasy. Exposing that it was a human's crime done with tricks. That's anti-fantasy. Investigating all possibilities to expose what those tricks are. That's mystery. But claiming that possibilities with no hints supporting them are unworthy of investigation. That's also mystery? Hidden doors, by definition, are hidden in a way that there can't be any clues. Would claiming that hidden doors therefore necessarily exist, even if the detective cannot find them, be anti-mystery? That's enough of that. This argument is too far of a digression from the riddles I'm actually supposed to be solving. To be honest, I'm not even sure what to think of that. Like, I'm a little confused on what Bella is trying to think here. My fight is very simple. I'm only fighting to explain that it was possible for a human to carry out these crimes, which were supposedly carried out by a witch. This whole discussion about mystery and anti doesn't serve any purpose. Okay, I mean, I got the idea about fantasy, anti-fantasy, and mystery. That I do understand. It's just the rest of the stuff that Bella has been thinking over here. About the hidden door. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. So I cannot bring myself to have any particular interest in the rules, known as the Nox Decalogue.
ノクスはお嫌いですか？
苦手だな。隠し扉の存在を調べもせずに全否定可能なんて、なんだかおかしいぜ。
I mean, before this entire thing, I never really looked at the Nox commandments as more than just trivia. I mean, they can be used to make a mystery more creative, but I didn't see them as something to use as strict rules in a mystery. I mean, I know of at least one hidden passageway being used in a mystery a long time ago, and it's not like it ruined. It's not like it ruined my experience, my enjoyment of the mystery. But nonetheless, like going back to what Beller said here, technically speaking, the way Berncastel and, well, especially you, Delanor, are using that particular commandment, it almost makes it seem lazy. I mean, you girls say that, oh, there is no hidden door, end of story. And we are not even allowed to have the freedom of choice to investigate for at least 1 minute to see if there are no hidden doors? Like, I don't care about hidden doors in particular. It's just a matter of principles here. Freedom of choice versus the restrictiveness of the Nazi regime that is Frederica Berncastel.
悪魔の証明並みにうさんくせえな。ファンタジーの対極のはずなのに、なぜか同じ論法になっちまってる気がするぜ。うん、言い過ぎた。お前の親父が作ったんだもんな。
お気になさらずに。戯れに過ぎないとおっしゃる方もいらっしゃいますので。
バトラ君には実会はかなり傲慢なものに感じられるのでしょう。
正直なところを言えばな。隠し扉は存在してはいけないから調べる必要さえないなんて。頭のネジが落ちてないかどうか一緒に床を探してやるところだぜ。
Alright. I mean, this is Umineko. It's a very special case, I guess, but yeah, you certainly do not hear the protagonist in a Danganronpa game go with that kind of mentality, because that would surely not fly in trial. I mean, it makes the murder mystery feel unrealistic at that point. What is supposed to happen in a murder mystery is, well, give a hint towards the possibility of a hidden door existing, followed by us finding said hidden door later, if we pick up on that hint, which would solve the mystery. Otherwise, if there are no hints, then we can ignore that kind of possibility. We as the readers, that is. I feel like with that Danganronpa example, there was a hint towards its existence. Maybe, like I honestly don't remember the details of that case. I don't remember. Although I do remember that it was somewhat discovered through an accident, and the Nox commandments would definitely not agree with that, so...
ではバトラー、その第3条をなかったことにしましょう。そうなったら密室ミステリーはどうなるでしょうか。
What if Nox's third commandment, hidden doors are forbidden, didn't exist?
つまり密室トリックのオチに隠し扉が OK になるってことか。
手がかりや伏線のある隠し扉ではありません。隠しなのですから、無論探偵にも発見できない隠し扉です。
I mean, it is as I said. If the hint is not there, the hidden door should not exist. Like, if the hidden door exists despite not have any clues that will lead to it. And the detective solves the mystery by showing us the hidden door that we as the readers had no clues, had no breadcrumbs to reach that solution. I mean, I would not be as satisfying, I admit.
バトラ君はよく悪魔の証明により発見できない X の存在を仮定して戦いますね。つまりはそういうことですよ。
最悪だな。密室ミステリーが読み物として破綻しちまう。
That was another way of saying that those kinds of stories would simply no longer work. No one would want to try solving the mystery in the first place if they knew the answer might just be an unforeseeable hidden door. Well, I mean, that's why you have the other Nox commandment. The one where solutions are to be... Well, I don't know if that was one of the commandments I'm forgetting right now. But whatever it is, there needs to be hints and foreshadowing towards a certain particular element of the mystery. Whether it is a hidden door or anything else, it doesn't matter. There has to be like some hints that will lead towards that possibility. Now, I can agree with that. I feel like that should be in every single murder mystery. But the hidden doors, I feel like there can be exceptions there. Like, you can have hidden doors. It's just that I feel like you have to be creative with that, in my eyes.
せめて隠し扉はありませんと保証してもらってからじゃないと推理する気も起きない。
Some guarantee that no hidden doors exist.
なるほど。ノックス第3条は必要だな。それがなけりゃ密室ミステリーは読み物にもなりゃしねえ。
推理する気も起きないとはつまりどういうことですか？
つまり読む気もしねえってことだな。
そういうことです。人間は推理可能だという保証を得なければ思考さえできないか弱い生き物なのです。
推理可能、すなわち頑張れば解けますよという励ましが必要なのです。
That might actually be true. It's the same with exercising. If you're told to run 10 laps around the campus, you can tough it out. But if you're made to run without even knowing how many laps it's going to be, you'll probably get tired out before you make it around 3 times. And the same thing goes for thinking and reasoning. Depending on whether or not a problem is guaranteed to be solvable, the way we humans react to it changes completely.
推理小説で探偵が犯人が分かったと宣言するシーンがあるでしょ。あれはつまりそこまでの文章で手がかりは全て記したから。読者諸君、どうぞ推理をしてくださいという合図なのですよ。
Oh, I know that very well. The sensation one may feel when the story is reaching its conclusion, and it will be the perfect time to think once more and maybe reason it out before the detective. If not, then your chance of solving that mystery will forever be gone, because the detective gave their reasoning, and I'm like, oh, so that's how it was done. The story ends, and you never get a second chance of solving the mystery because you already read the solution. It's too late at that point. At least, as you said, Virgilia, there may be hints that tell you when that threshold is. But that may not always be the case. You never know when a character is gonna give you a solution to one of the problems at any given point in the story. So, like, the only option would be for the reader to think the entire time while reading the story, and not let the reader think only at the end of the story when this threshold is being shown, because you never know when something will happen that will give you a solution to a problem that you should have reasoned out, like, much earlier. I mean, this story, like the story of Umineko, is like that, times 1 quadrillion, where each episode, like each chapter, is me feeling anxious to the core of my heart, like almost crying that I'm about to be given a solution that I was supposed to reach, and I will be all, done it. Well, I guess it's time for me to cry myself to sleep that I did not think of that easy solution in time. You know, that sort of mentality.
へえ。単なるお約束のセリフかと思ってたが、そんな意味があったんだな。
意地悪に言うと、探偵がそう宣言しない限り、どんなにミステリーを愛する推理自慢の読者であっても、推理をする気力は生じないということです。
Well, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, I never thought that such a line would be really necessary. At least in my eyes.
過去のゲームにおけるあなたもそうではありませんでしたか？
Come to mention it, maybe that really was the case. My fight against Bato began in earnest, starting with the second game, I think. When Bato threw locked room mysteries at me, at first, I didn't seriously try to tackle them. After all, I knew nothing except that people had died in a locked room, and the windows and doors were all locked from the inside. I had basically no hints, so I refused to debate, on grounds that I couldn't fight because the lack of clues made reasoning impossible. After that, Bato sneered at me, didn't she? Asking whether I would repeat that over and over forever, in an endless repetition of moves. At that time, Bato said this.
貴様ら無能どもがいつも嘆いてみせる思考停止の理由、情報不足。そしてそれに対し情報を与えると、今度はその情報の真偽を疑う根拠否定。便利よな。無能を棚上げする実に小気味よい言葉よ。
And then she said she'd give me reliable information that couldn't be denied, and created a rule called the Red Truth. Only after Beto had done all that for me did the curtain finally rise on my battle with her.
俺はベアトにこの物語は挑めば解けるという保証をもらって初めて同じ土俵に上がったというわけか。
ベアトリーチェ、不思議な方です。謎こそが魔女の住まう狭間なのに、自らその謎を暴くことのできる赤き真実をあなたに与え始めたのですね。
You could say that the Red Truth is a hint Beto gives me, so that I will agree to compete in this war of reasoning. It's a carrot. Being given a hint is like she's saying, go on, try solving it. It is possible. Oh. Huh. I guess I cannot say that I remember ever thinking that. I mean, it is true that once we got introduced to Red Truths, eventually I was like, okay, now we're talking. We can use Red Truths so that we can create a picture of what happened and squeeze ourselves through the red truths to figure out a possibility that cannot be denied by the red truths. Granted, recently things have become quite insane with the red truths. It feels like we're supposed to know a specific way of dealing with that. And not to mention that in the last part, I did question the basis of the red truths with that whole talk of red truths not being absolutes, so... An enigma which is guaranteed to be solvable cannot be called a true enigma.
これではまるでベアト自身が自分は本当は魔女じゃないって自分で認めてるようなものじゃないか。
おやおや、確かにそうなりますね。本当におかしな子です。
Beato gave no answer. With grey eyes, she did nothing but blankly gaze at the stream rising from her black tea.
我が父は思考する力に杖を与えるために実戒を生み出したのです。決して物事を傲慢に決めつけるためではありません。思
考する力に杖。
そうです。ノックス第8条、提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず。これは手がかりなしに当て推量で推理をしてはいけないという意味だけではありません。
逆に言えば、出題者は解決のための手がかりを必ず提示しなければならないということです。
つまり実戒に従うなら全ての謎には必ずヒントがあり、よって必ず解決は可能だと保証されていることになるわけか。
I see. So this is what she means by a crutch for the power of thinking. If you can believe that it's solvable, and start feeling the desire to have a go at those riddles. If you're capable of believing that hints do exist, you get fired up over rereading the story to search for them.
確かに推理しようとする人間にとって勇気を与える力はあるかもしれないな。
ノックス実戒はミステリーの出題者に課す制限と思われがちですが、読み手にとっても大切なものなのです。
You know, before I continue with this, going back to that topic of structuring and such, Umineko, that's... yeah, it is a little bit hard to predict the structure of this. Like, you know, I do remember that we had that kind of a discussion of, like, me wondering if we are even gonna get a solution in this entire thing. That, and that whole talk about how my reasoning would be validated by the reasoning of the detective / the author that, you know, you would expect in every single murder mystery. But I was thinking that maybe Umineko would be different in the sense that maybe it will never give you the solution. Because it will force you to believe in your own reasoning. Otherwise, if you're just gonna keep doing reasoning and have yourself be validated by whether your reasoning will be correct or not in the story, maybe it's not as powerful as believing in your own reasoning, that your reasoning is correct, and that Umineko would be open to interpretation, making you think that, well, you are free to interpret whatever you want. We're not gonna give you a solution. if you truly believe in your interpretation of what happened, then you believe in it. We're not gonna give you the solution to what actually happened. We want you to feel empowered by your own reasoning and not feel empowered by the fact that we're validating your reasoning. I've had that kind of discussion before. So yeah, it is quite something.
実戒を杖とすることで、私たちは推理する勇気と必ず隠されているに違いない手がかりを求めて。
Well, I certainly never looked at the Decalogue that way. I guess it is because I always assumed that, of course, every mystery would have hints. It's not like I needed confirmation that hints existed for me to try and reason the whole thing, because I constantly tried to do that in the first place. But yeah, I guess in that sense, the Decalogue does empower that feeling, that motivation of trying. And I guess the reason why I never thought of it that way is because, I mean, it is not a guarantee that murder mystery stories nowadays follow the Decalogue to a T. Like, it barely even crossed my mind that much before this. I looked at the Decalogue as just a guideline of creativity for authors to create their own murder mystery stories without making them cheap. I guess it does have that element of giving the reader some insight and encouragement as well.
何度も物語を読み返す気力を授かるのです。
硬くて開かない。ジャム瓶の蓋みたいだな。母さんがよく言ってたぜ。開かないと思ってるといくら頑張っても開かないって。スポーツにもそういうのあるよな。必ず自分は成し遂げられるという強いイメージがあるのとないのでは。記録に大きく差が出るというし。
In that case, the Decalogue isn't really a set of arrogant and strict restrictions. And also, you see it as a way to encourage readers who are trying to solve the mystery by telling them to give it their all since it's definitely solvable.
面白い解釈だ。しかし、世の中の推理小説すべてが必ず実戒を守ってるわけでもないと聞いたぜ。
Exactly. It's not really a guarantee that every mystery would follow the Decalogue. Because if every mystery would follow the Decalogue, then yeah, you would have the guarantee that, of course, there's going to be like hints, which would empower the reader to reason it out. But since it's not always a guarantee that they follow it, would you really try and follow the Decalogue nonetheless? I don't know.
そういう作品にぶち当たった時、騙されたってことにはならないのかよ。
実戒もまた解釈の一つに過ぎず、すべてのミステリーに適用できるものではありません。父の原理主義者の方々は実戒を破った作品を異端と呼んで激しく糾弾される方もいらっしゃるようですが。
There's no end of arguments like this in the mystery world. Is this or that famous detective novel a fair mystery? In other words, one that follows Knox's 10 Commandments? That sort of argument is already an eternal theme of the mystery world. I mean, say that a murder mystery story ends up not following, like, one of the commandments, even though it follows the rest of the commandments. Would you call that story a ruined experience? I wouldn't go as far to say that, cause that same story can very well have turned out to be a fantastic experience, despite one or more of the commandments being broken. I mean, I wouldn't call Danganronpa or Ace Attorney cheap experiences, if I am to be that harsh with the Decalogue. Of course, if you break too much of it and just do whatever, the mystery aspect would turn out pretty poopy. Cause even I can agree that no matter what, the culprit should be known beforehand. You cannot just say that the culprit was this random guy, and the random guy finally appears at the call of the detective and say, "Yes, it was me all along." Like, I feel like you need that commandment, like, no matter what. Otherwise, you can say that, like, if you have a good book, a good story, but the mystery element of that is not good, then all you have is the rest of the story that is good, which, I don't know, maybe the romance part of that story is good. Like, the action part of that is good, while the mystery is a little bit meh. But as long as you can get something out of those romance or action themes slash elements of the story, if you get something out of it that makes you a better person, despite the murder mystery element being poorly done, like, that's a whole different discussion to be had there. The hidden doors one, yeah, like, you can mingle with it, but you have to use it in a creative way. And you have to give hints towards it. And if the case does not depend entirely on the hidden door, then you better make the rest of the mystery all creative. Cause, like, 99% of the time, it won't be just a matter of the hidden door. You gotta figure out the who, like, who used the hidden door, the whys, the whens, like, the murder weapon. I mean, those are entirely different story. Like, no matter how the hidden door was used. I mean, what else can we can we talk about here when it comes to the Knock Commandments? Like, the supernatural agencies. I mean, heyo, Umineko. Like, who said that magical murder mysteries cannot exist? Like, as long as you have made a rule on how magic works and the limitations of magic. Otherwise, if there is no... Okay, well, I'm talking about, like, the typical magic, not in the Umineko sense, because Umineko is going with a lot more of a deeper aspect of magic. I'm talking about, like, magical worlds where you can create fire, you can create ice, you can teleport, and those stuff is not really explained. Like, you have to have a limitation for that, otherwise... How can you even deduce the mystery aspect of that? For example, some people are limited in the use of teleportation. Like, it is established early on that, oh, that type of person cannot do teleportation. So, if that person is actually the murderer, then even if the concept of teleportation exists in that murder mystery story, you can work around it because the culprit cannot use teleportation. If you have like an established rule of how magic works and who can do what and such, you can do a murder mystery in the world of fantasy, in my eyes. It's just that I guess I cannot even tell you like that many examples of that. Like, Umineko is the only example that I can think of that is working with magic. I can give you examples of detective fiction working with science fiction. Like, there's plenty of that I've seen up to this point, but magical stuff? I mean, I guess there are reasons for why that sort of genre of mixing magic with mystery you don't see it that often, it's because it's so risky and you need to be very good with that in order to make a murder mystery work? I guess so. In fact, in mystery discussions, arguments like these sometimes become more heated and talk about the actual solutions. Yeah, like try to stay far away from Twitter in that case.
そりゃ糾弾したくもなるだろうな。実戒に従い解けると信じて挑んで、実は解けるようにできてませんでしたってオチだったらさぞや悔しくて仕方ないだろうぜ。
That's right. When fighting with the Decalogue, there's just one thing you want guaranteed from the beginning. And that is the guarantee that the detective novel will adhere to the Decalogue. If a work labels itself as an orthodox mystery, then you have nothing to worry about. However, the mystery genre contains many unorthodox subgenres within it. And does that mean that trying to use reasoning in an orthodox detective novel is a complete waste of time? So, I guess you're going with the definition that an orthodox, like a orthodox detective novel is one that follows the Decalogue to a T, and an unorthodox one does not follow it. I guess that's your definition of an orthodox detective novel.
それはそれで傲慢な気もするな。
はい。私も父の実戒をそのような傲慢の武器にされるのは非常に悲しいことです。
お前は実戒を武器にさっきベアトと戦ったわけだが、それはつまりこのベアトのゲームの世界がノックス実戒にのっとっているという証なのか。
I mean, like the existence of witches and magic in itself would render the Decalogue from being used strictly, right? However, the fact that we originally were trying to prove that the mystery was done in an orthodox way kinda makes it sound like we should use the Decalogue as well. Actually, and now that I'm thinking about it, if we are to say that the story follows the Decalogue to a T, that means it basically tells that witches do not exist, and it only could have been done by humans. So that part of the mystery would technically be solved by the sheer existence of the Decalogue itself. So I don't think that we are supposed to know that. I don't think that Ryukishi wants us to know if this entire thing follows the Decalogue to a T or not. I mean, I guess one such as Delanor or Beller can use that kind of mentality, but I mean, that will mean game over at the snap of a finger, if it's possible. Like, there would be no more room for argument for the whole thing of magic existing and witches existing in the first place. If we have the guarantee that the Nux commandment is something that is truly followed in this entire thing, so I feel like that's something that we're not supposed to know. And I guess the same thing can be said for every single murder mystery, I mean, at least nowadays, because it's not like the author is telling you at the beginning, hey, listen up, this story follows the Nox Decalogue, so don't be trying to think of any stupid ideas. Like, it's not like you see that kind of thing. I feel like Agatha Christie, even though she never says that in her books, they feel like they do. Because tell me if I'm wrong, but you never hear of a Hercule Poirot story where there is magic involved in it. Because if that sort of thing exists, then oh boy, I would actually really love to hear about that. If you have like, if you know of that sort of story, if magic exists in one of Hercule Poirot's detective stories, I would love to hear that. But otherwise, I feel like Agatha Christie's stories do follow that Decalogue. Because Hercule Poirot story, no, not just Hercule Poirot, but like, now Agatha Christie was a writer of the old times. It's like, I feel like the older a murder mystery story is, the more that story would tend to follow the rule of the Knox Decalogue, whereas I feel like nowadays that kind of thing, like the Knox Decalogue, would be a little bit more loose, because you gotta think about the creative aspect of things, because they're like, when you follow the Decalogue, it sort of feels like you're restricting as well, because if every single murder mystery would follow Decalogue, then we wouldn't be having Umineko in the first place. It is because someone decided, hey, how about I tackle the concept of magic in my story? What if Ryukishi decided, hey, what if I decide to go against the Decalogue a little bit and introduce the concept of magic in my Umineko story to make it a little bit more creative? Because, well, that's, like, no matter how you think about the Decalogue, you cannot deny that without magic, Umineko would probably be just another generic murder mystery. Yeah, it's because you kind of want to go around it and be more creative with the Decalogue that you want to create more creative stories nowadays. I mean, same thing with fiction. You introduce science fiction in your murder mystery stories because it makes things more creative. Because, like, how many science fiction murder mystery stories do you know of the old times, of the 20th century, of the early 20th century? I feel like during those times you'd find more grounded murder mystery stories. Whereas nowadays, you kind of want to go a little bit further and, you know, go a little bit more creative with that. Whether it is in the magical aspect or the science fiction aspect, or maybe you want to introduce time travel in that, as long as you follow the rules and such. That's, nah. When I asked that, there was a strange silence. Virgilia, Delno, and of course Beato all remained silent for a while. Almost as though my question had touched at the core of something.
それは私の口からは言えません。
Yeah, I mean, of course you cannot answer.
どうして？
これはこの子の作ったゲームです。あなたと勝敗を決めるためのゲーム。この子はそれをミステリーとファンタジーの対決のように呼んでいました。しかし残念ながら本格推理とは一言も言っていません。すなわち実戒にのっとっているという保証はないということです。
しかし同時にミス・ベアトリーチェはあなたとの勝負のゲームだともおっしゃっています。それはすなわちあなたにも勝利する余地があるということ。
すなわち推理は可能だって、そう言いたいのか？
この子に言わせればおそらく推理は可能となるのでしょう。しかしこの子とバトラ君が送り手と受け手の関係であるように2人は異なる存在です。ベアトにとって推理可能なつもりで出題したものが あなたにとっても推理可能なものなのかは別の問題です。
For example, let's say we pose a simple riddle that any Japanese person would be familiar with. However, if the person we're telling this riddle to is a foreigner with a Japanese English dictionary in their hands, it might be almost impossible to solve it. Right. The language barrier. In other words, it's possible to have a one-sided solvable problem, which might be easy for the questioner, but extremely difficult for the person trying to solve it. By the way, do you know the foreign riddle, why do dragons sleep all day? Why do dragons sleep all day? Because they don't like sunlight? Because they like to kill people during the night while they're asleep? Maybe I should watch Kobayashi's Dragon Maid to figure that one out. The answer is because they fight knights. It's a riddle from the English realm, so it might be a little tough for a Japanese person.
だからこそ私はこの物語がバトラ君に絶対に解けるものだと約束することができません。
Because they... Oh! Okay, I get it now. A play on the word knight. Okay, well... You could say that it's a riddle, but you can also see it as a pun.
しかしこれだけは約束できます。赤き真実でそれを保証します。
なんだ。
ベアとはあなたに解いてほしいと願って解けるようにこのゲームをこの物語の謎を生み出しました。それだけは私が赤き真実で保証します。
Beato wanted him to solve it. She created a game and the riddles in it to be solvable. So, if solving the mystery means solving everything in it, we can say that Beato wanted Bella to solve the epitaph too. I mean, that should be confirmation. It was the one guarantee that all those who try to use reasoning desire.
その答えが我が父の実戒にのっとり導き出せるものかは分かりません。しかしバトラが悩み苦しみ推理の指針を求める時にもしも思い出したなら我が実戒も試してみてください。
True. I mean, whatever we may think of the Decalogue, you and Ben Castel, you are going to use it nonetheless. So, when it comes to Lambda and Ben Castel's game at the very least, if the Decalogue is absolute in your eyes, then I don't think that we have much of a choice but to follow the Decalogue in that case. Which, maybe we can use it to our advantage, if we are smart enough. I just don't know it yet.
再び挑む勇気とひょっとすると何か新しい発見を与えてくれるかもしれません。
ありがとうよ。心底行き詰まったらお前の戦い方も参考にしてみるぜ。っていいのかよ。敵に塩を送っちまって。
お気になされずに手土産も持たずに訪れた茶会です。茶花の代わりとなったなら幸いです。それに私と再び相まみえたならそんな悠長なことを言っている暇はおそらくないでしょうから。
Nox's Decalogue, and Virgilia's Red Truth.
ベアとは俺に解いてほしいと願って解けるようにこのゲームの謎を生み出した。
In other words, Beato thinks I can solve it. Is that proof that it's possible to apply logic to this? Of course, that's from Beato's point of view. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be possible for me to work it out. But compared to before now, I didn't even know whether applying reasoning was possible or impossible. And that one sentence might give me a great deal of courage and strength. At least it has the power to silence any negative thoughts about it, just being useless anyway. Yeah, well, I don't think that has really been a problem for me. The question of whether this entire thing is solvable or not. Because for me to say that this is not solvable would imply me blaming it on Ryukishi as a bad author. That they made it unsolvable, thus I will blame them for this. But you know me, guys. If I cannot manage to reason things out, it's all on me, baby. I will blame my stupidity for not being able to solve it. I wouldn't blame anybody else but myself for that. I am just that kind of person.
推理できると先に相手に証明させなくては推理をしない。まるで奥手な若者の恋愛のようですね。
恋愛？
ええ、自分のことを愛してくれると相手が先に証明しない限り、自分も相手を愛したくない。でしょ
？Both boys and girls want to hear someone say, I love you, to them first, without being prompted. That's the dream. They don't want to love another person until they're sure that the person will love them back. After all, there's nothing as painful as a one-sided love, and the emotional scars of a love that doesn't work out last a long time. Because they're afraid of that pain. More than anything else, they want assurance that the other person will love them back.
なるほど。推理小説における作家と読者の関係を面白く表現しています。
Yeah. Maybe you can liken detective novels to that. Wow. To make that kind of connection between love and mystery. Both the writer and the reader first want the other party to tell them, I will solve it, or it can be solved. Until the writer is assured that the readers will definitely attempt to solve their story, they don't want to write it. So, me wanting to solve things from the get-go is the equivalent of me saying, I love you, like, first? That I have love? Wow. Yeah, it's gotta be the sweetest thing I heard all week, I believe. Here, Kishi, you bastard. You're making me blush here. Stop it. The same goes for the readers. They are sure that they will definitely be able to solve the story if they try, and they don't want to read it. Because they don't want to write what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when no one reads it. And because they don't want to apply logic to what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when they realize it was all useless.
その理論によるとまさに奥手な小学生中学生の恋愛だな。気があるくせに打ち明ける勇気もなく相手の告白を待ってもじもじしたまま何の進展もなくひと夏が終わる。いやいや、他の男とくっついちまうことだってあるぜ。俺の初恋もそんな感じだったさ。
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Hold on. Back it up. Back it up. Beep, beep, beep. You're saying stuff here that might interest me. Along with these one-sided things they can't express. They lament the passage of summer which will never come again, and the days of their youth end. Oh. Oh. I see. So this entire long discussion about declaring that the mystery is solvable, I mean, it could be one gigantic reference to a possible love story of the past between Bella and Bato that I've been thinking about in the past, in like episode 4. So, Bato making this game solvable and wanting him to solve it, and that being declared in red. It is her roundabout way of telling Bella that she loves him. Huh. And the writer who wouldn't write until he gained the support of readers, and goes for all alternative without realizing his maiden work. And the reader who waited for the writer's rise to fame goes their whole life without knowing the joy of the mystery genre.
バトラ君、その卵が先か鶏が先かという奥手な恋愛はどの段階にまで進んだら相思相愛の関係になるのですか？
それは積み重ねだろうな。まず友達関係から始めてコミュニケーションを増やし、こいつはきっと俺のことが好きで俺もこいつのことが好きだと。
Yeah, that's as Bella said. Communication.
疑えなくなった段階を2人が共有できたところでまあ多分自然と恋人関係に進めるんじゃないかと。唐突な告白で始まった関係は割と別れることも多いが、実は互いに告白したことがなく気づいたらずっと一緒にいたって連中の方が案外付き合いは長いってのが俺の今日までの印象だ。
つまり互いが相手を信じる信頼関係が生まれたらということですね。
かもな。意外だぜ。ミステリーってのは作家と読者のバトルだと思ってたんだが、実はそうじゃないのか。
ええ、互いが信頼し合った上でしか成立しない愛ある関係なのですよ。